This show is sponsored by Horizon HVAC, who you can count on for all of your heating and cooling needs. Also by CES Construction, who specializes in bathroom and kitchen remodels. On today's episode, we sit down with Jarrod Tillinghast, owner and promoter of Legendary Boxing on Smith Street in North Providence, and the Call Out, a new concept bringing people together to settle their differences. I've been friends with Jarrod a long time, and he's never afraid to help a person in need of anything. I'm proud and excited to bring you this episode, Jarrod Tillinghast. All right, Jarrod Tillinghast, episode 2 of the Mindset Radio podcast. Welcome.
How you doing, buddy?
Good, man. Good. Nice to have you.
You too. Thank you.
I was just saying, so when we first met years ago, we kind of always have said that we wanted to join and do something together, some type of, whether it was business or whatever it was.
We just worked and we knew something we had to get together with something.
Yeah. Yeah. And I feel like it's going to happen, man. I feel like it's going to happen. What you're doing right now with the call out is incredible. I really want to dig into that. And what you're just what you're doing with the gym, man, is taking these kids off the streets and giving them an opportunity to do something like important with their lives, because boxing for me, it changed my life in a lot of different ways. It gave me discipline. It gave me confidence. That was one of the biggest things. And I think what you're offering those kids in that area and just in Rhode Island alone is huge. And that's amazing, man, what you're doing. So tell us a little bit about your gym and what you got going on.
So, when I was coming up, I was taught by people who've been there and been successful by being there, whether it was a world-class fighter, trainer. So I always knew it wasn't about me, and I would always stay down. Dino Dennis told me, stay in kindergarten, Jarrod, don't graduate. Because when you graduate the first grade, you know too much. And it was so profound. Like, now I was like, so I always stayed in a state of learning and growing, because like I never elevated myself to be something that other people might have put me where, in that spot. I was just meek and serving people. And the boxing gym happened by accident. I was just getting divorced. I wanted to fight. So I went by the building and I seen it was for rent, but it was an old gym. Yeah. So
Was that an old gym? It was a gym before?
Yeah, it was an old gym. Fitness Factory.
It's on Smith Street, right?
Yeah.
Smith Street in
North Providence.
Yep.
So
you've done a great job with that gym, man.
Thank you, man.
I got the pleasure of seeing the actual start to finish.
Yeah, we're still adding. We just cut the hole in the stairs and we put a locker room in the basement.
Ash, do you have any videos of, do you have a website? How can we see video of it? Of the gym? Maybe go to your Instagram?
Yeah, maybe on Instagram you can check it out.
Go to Jarrod Tillinghast on Instagram.
Go to Legendary Boxing.
Legendary Boxing on Instagram. I just want people to see the work that has been done to this gym. And
yeah, even the front's different.
The flag.
Even the front's different. All the silver in the front is now all black and it's all painted. All that underneath is.
How'd you come up with that logo? The logo is spot on, man. I love the logo. And you see the gloves hanging like in a lot of different things, but you did something unique with it where you kind of, you did it different than most gloves. You know what I'm saying? The
logo happened by accident too. Ariel Cruz, who's an artist who did, he does a lot of work in Miami. Ariel Cruz is like one of the top artists. So Ariel come in and he was doing all my logos. He did Northeast, Great Collision, all the paintings and the sponsors that when I first came in, I painted them on the wall.
Burns Roofing, shout out to
Eric Burns, shout out to Eric.
Yeah.
So Eric's my guy, I love him. Ariel did all the artwork for all the sponsorships. Then he said, I got a gift for you. And he went in the office, where the office is. He wouldn't tell me what it was. And then he started going to work and he actually put my logo on that wall. And I was like, whoa.
So he painted it on the wall?
Before you
even knew?
He just had a surprise for me. It was his gift to me. So he said, I got something for you. And because he had the perfect wall and he made me paint it white. So
did he do the mural in the back too?
He did everything.
So he surprised you with the main logo.
So he surprised me in the office with the boxing glove and it was Legendary Boxing RI. And when I looked at it, that was my gift, So I looked at it and I was like, whoa. I said, that's my logo. And he really painted the logo on the wall as a gift. And when I seen it, I loved it so much that I made it in my logo.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how that happened.
So he did the one in the back too, the big
He
mural?
he did the legendary in the back too.
That one's great, man. Did you end up doing something with that back area?
I got that whole back wall being painted right now.
Yeah.
And we're gonna put all legendary fighters on there. We repaved it.
Are you setting up bags back there?
Oh yeah,
you are for the summertime.
Listen, there's a ring going on back there.
There is.
We're building a roof
you can
over
have
the
events
top.
Back there?
Oh, we're gonna have a lot of. I got a big movie screen, projector screen that we're gonna be watching all the fights.
Okay, so break down how this gym came about. Like when so you saw the building, and you said this would be a perfect building for a boxing gym. Because I know people in Rhode Island, they wanted you to have a gym.
Right, but we
were waiting.
I drove by the building and I seen it was for rent. So I pulled over and I was like, let me get the number. So I got the number off the building. I called the gentleman, Larry Carenti, who owns Larry's Lounge. Larry is the best human being on the planet. Jane and Larry, I have the best landlord, the best. I mean, if I ever come into something big, I would fix that whole building for nothing, just because of his soul.
You have a lot of support. You have a lot of people who help with the cause too. Like I've told you many times that if you ever need anything done, I'd go in there with my guys. And I'd help you out. And I'm sure you got a lot of people.
We need a staircase done for the locker room.
I got you, man. And I'm sure you got a lot of people who do that same stuff.
Yeah, I just put the shed up in the back. We got everything.
There it is, right there. There's the mural.
There it is.
Look at that.
Yep.
That when I walked back there and saw that, man, it was incredible. So he did that. He came in and did that. Did he surprise you with that too?
Yeah. Now, his glove, the guy that's getting punched with that right hand and his face is blowing up behind the letters, his glove says hate on it. You know, where we would say Everlast, it says hate.
Yeah.
And that's what we're doing, punching out hate. So
it's great, man. So okay, so you saw the gym. You said this would be a great spot for a gym. What'd you do next? How did you get this thing off the ground?
I got the guy's number. I called him. I met him the next day. I looked around the building and I was like, all right, because I still didn't want to have a boxing gym, and it wasn't in my brain for a boxing gym. I was putting a ring in there to do like underground fights because I wanted, yeah.
Oh, you had no plan on even making
zero. I mean, zero plans on making it. I got the key, and I was like, all right, I have a key with no boxing equipment. I had nothing. We were gonna go in there and tie ropes up, and make, just because I needed. It was at that time in my life where it was, you know, I hit some low points, and I know like boxing was always my foundation.
Yeah.
And I always go back to the beginning. If you lose it, you got to go back to where you started from and get it back that way. So I went back into that fight mode. And I literally got the key, and I was calling all my friends saying, oh, we got a box, we got a gym now. Let's get a ring and put it in there and we'll kill each other. Yeah. This is great.
You called me.
This is great. We're going to be beating each other. This is like, so then my buddy Kenny Renzi and his company, Kenny, I love you. Thank you for everything he does. He does a lot for me. So Kenny comes in and he painted the walls and the red, black, and white, and it looked so nice.
And you saw it.
So when I came in, I was like, I like this. I said, but the ceiling was that tin ceiling, but it was white, but it was like, it looked like urine stained. It was that rust was coming through it.
You did that black too, right?
So I was like, spray the ceiling too. So when they sprayed the ceiling, and I came and I looked at it, and I was like, yeah, it popped. It did pop. It popped.
It's one of the first things I noticed actually when I walked in there. Before, you know, when it was still under construction.
Once I cleaned it up, I started acting like, oh, maybe this. And then I got a phone call, and another friend jumped on, Dean Antonelli. Dean came in. He started helping me. He became my partner. And next thing you know, we built the ring, and the gym was on his way. Isn't
it amazing how some of the best things start with just like an idea that wasn't even supposed to be for that? I had somebody on the podcast last week, and he was talking about a mosquito company that he started. He kind of just did it because he had a problem with mosquitoes at his house.
Yeah.
And he sprayed his house. It worked. People on Facebook were like, hey, can you do my house? and he went out and he did this person's house and this person's house, and all of a sudden he's got a business.
Wow.
So like the small little ideas that spark in our brains that could honestly just bring it to a whole nother part of your life that you never would have imagined. That's like one of the best parts of life to me.
That's what happened with the call out.
Yeah.
I was successful with Brawl For It All.
I want to talk about Brawl For It All first before we get into the call out.
All right. Yeah.
Brawl For It All was very unique. It was it was a cool concept. Not a lot of people were doing it because you were doing it back when I think your first event was Brick House.
No, my first event was Last Resort.
Last Resort.
Smithfield.
What year was that? It was
2017.
It was right in the beginning of the Street Grudge. Because I remember Barstool started it, but I felt like you kind of.
I did it before.
I felt like you did, and I'm not trying to blow. I felt like you had that, and then that came around. But what that whole concept is for everybody who doesn't know is, you take street grudges, right, and you try to resolve it in a ring. And I remember actually working with you on a couple of projects. Yeah. I think it was the Dino fight.
Yeah, Dino and
we met him on the hill, and we kind of shot like a promo. Yep. You remember that?
Yeah, I was going all around. We were getting like crazy.
Yeah,
the best thing was the videos and the call out videos.
Yeah. We had that one guy, man, that was funny. He was
the snake.
The snake. Yeah. You had some characters on there.
So the characters are, you have no clue. The snake was this. There's a funny story with him. Fight night, he comes in and his blood pressure's like, listen,
through the roof.
He come in with like guys with turbans on and everything. So his corner walking out was like Kennedy Plaza with like it was hysterical. So Billy comes in. And the doctor calls me in the back. He's like, Jarrod, this guy.
His blood pressure's way too high.
He said that I can't do this. Like, I'll lose my license. There's no way he could fight. I'm like, what are you talking about? He has to fight. So I'm looking at Billy, and he's all like, I'm like, hey, Billy, come on. So I took him with me. I said, give me 20 minutes. I took him with me. I went in the back. I went in the car. I started asking around. I said, this guy's blood pressure's high. Boom, somebody gave me a blood pressure pill. I was like, Billy, I stuck it in his mouth. I stuck it in his mouth. I told him, lay down in the car. I put the seat back. I put a nice melody on. He took a 15-minute nap. Nice. He came back and his blood pressure was perfect.
Perfect. That's
Doctor
how you beat
looks
that.
at me. He goes, what? I said, I don't know. He was.
But where did you find these guys? How did this all come about? Like, what was the first thing that happened that made you think, hey, I can turn this into Brawl For It All?
Well, they come to me. People, they know I was running Brawl For It All, so they started coming to me after
But like before Brawl For It All even started, how did you come up with the concept of starting Brawl For It All?
Well, Joe Savino originally came up with a concept of street beefs like that. Joe Savino and Rich Capiello, they had something out in Boston, but Rich had went to his spot and seen Joe doing it. So Rich had the idea and brought it to Rhode Island, not in Mass where Joe was doing it. So when Rich came here with it, I was like, Rich, I'll blow that up in Rhode Island. Come here with it. So he came here with it, and I just like, Rich, sit back and I'll just give you money. You don't have to do anything because I did everything. But Rich was like, he's very good with the knowledge of how to run an event. And so he was, he played his part. But as far as like getting all the grudges and getting everything in place, I had that outlet in Rhode Island. I knew everybody. So when I brought that here, there was already people that were beefing Louis, and every time they seen each other, they would fight. So I was like, wait, I got an idea. Let's do it this way. And then I got both of them to agree. And now I'm following. I sent a camera there, and now we're following them around the whole time. And that momentum picked up. And next thing you know, I'm getting a call outs are coming in. Oh, I want to fight this kid. And so it just kind of snowballed like that.
That's great. I think I was working for Jimmy. I was working for CES when you first, you had an event at the Warwick Civic Center.
Yes.
Right. And I went to that one. We sat front row. You reserved a seat for me, which was awesome. Yep. And I couldn't believe how packed you got that place.
For an amateur event.
For an amateur event that's never been around. That's like, it was packed. I mean, it was wall to wall. The Angels were there. You had people in just well-known people in Rhode Island. it was an awesome atmosphere, and what you did with that was awesome. And I knew right there, I was like, this kid's got something.
People
And I remember I was like, I'm gonna work with this kid. I'm gonna figure something out with this kid. And we became good friends, and that was it.
Well, for that, I want to say this: people better be careful, because my pull power and my network is crazy, and I could take over at any time with my promotional, with the way I do it, because I have support and I have the right people.
Yeah.
And you know, it's crossed my mind a bunch of times, like, you know, there's got to be some new blood coming in New England with some promoting.
Have you thought about promoting?
Absolutely. It's almost on my priority list.
Yeah.
It's on my bucket list.
Yeah.
So there is going to be a Tillinghast or Legacy. There's something promotions that I'm going to eventually, something is going to be breaking, and there will be something I'm going to be announcing soon.
Can you talk about this fighter that,
I could talk about him a little bit. Henry Cedonio Martinez. I'm right now, we're very close to being partners almost, and coming together. And Henry right now is fighting for Philly Smoke.
Yeah.
In that.
Can we pull him up? What's his name?
Henry Cedonio Martinez.
Henry Cedonio on YouTube.
Cedonio, yeah.
He's in the blue.
Yeah, he's got the
he's
white,
in the white, the white, and blue.
baby
Yeah.
blue and white. He got good feet. He could punch. He's 140 pounds. Henry could fight.
How old is he?
He's 24. He's 12-0,
wow,
10
good head
knockouts.
Movement. Good head movement. So what's his story? He came from
Dominican Republic.
Yeah, he's good, man. He's got
this
skill.
kid and his brother could fight too. So Henry walked in my gym. I mean, like everything else that's happened to me, it's come to me. I haven't chased anything. Henry walked in my gym one night with his cousin Pedro. True story. I looked over at the door and I seen Henry standing in the door, but I looked at him and I was like, this kid's somebody. I just knew instantly the way he was. I looked at him and I knew something was different. And Pedro, his cousin, because Henry don't really speak good English, so Pedro asked me how much the membership was. Henry wanted to work out. So I was like, "Nah, what do you need? Don't worry about a membership." I said, it's on me. Here, I gave him a key to the building. So Pedro looks at Henry and he's like, this guy is the real deal. Like, this guy is like, you know. So just by my serving, as I do always, just by me serving him, Henry knew that wasn't about, I didn't want nothing from him.
Yeah.
So then one day he came in.
You truly want to see him. You truly want to see him.
But I didn't even know who he was.
You're like
yet.
that. You're like that with everybody.
I have to be.
You're like that with everybody, that's what everybody should know is that you're never looking. You're never asking for things. You never, you're not that guy that says, "Hey, I need this. I need this." It comes to you because you put out that energy.
It's the facts, and there ain't, and I don't do it to, the one thing is this, I see it a lot. If you're serving people and you have to put a camera on it, it's not about the people, it's about you. You see it all the time. They're putting cameras on it and they're letting everybody know, look what I'm doing. Look at me. Mm-hmm. No, look at me it's not the way to do it. Mm-hmm. Look at me. It's about you. It's not about, so.
Are you talking about like social media?
I'm talking about if you're serving people.
Yeah. Oh, and then showing it off.
That's right.
Right.
If you're serving
I just made
people,
a donation to this. I got you.
If you're really serving people, nobody has to know. Yeah. God knows.
Yeah.
God, you're doing his work.
When did this Jarrod come about? When did the Jarrod, the mindfulness Jarrod and the spiritual Jarrod come out that we all know?
That's a great question. When they said I was crazy. When they said I was crazy, he went off the deep end. I knew at that moment that they were almost convincing people. So people were calling me, going, "Are you all right? What's the matter? Maybe you need to go to the hospital and see a doctor." People were calling me, friends that I grew up with all my life, they'd call me. And, my choice of words when they would call me, I can't say on the air because I don't talk like that, but it wasn't nice. And there's guys I still don't talk to from calling me up, asking me if I was okay. So
did you take that as like?
I took it as if I took it as almost like challenge.
Condescending almost?
Well, yeah, because if people want to look innocent by saying he's crazy, look, la la la. It's a smoke bomb. It's what they told everybody's looking over here, and I'm already Jarrod, and I knock people out. And when I get drunk, I knock people out. So of course, maybe he lost his mind too, right?
Yeah.
So the odds are stacked against me, no matter how you look at it.
I saw that YouTube video the other day when I was doing some research. It's still up there.
Right. So the odds are stacked against me coming into it,
Yeah.
and now you're dealing with people that are proper and they come from, oh, okay, they really do that. So I knew what I was up against. So I said to myself, it was Halloween day of 2016, and I was sitting in court, and I was trying to get put in jail. There were, and I was a bail violator. And I looked up and I said, I know, I get it now. I said, so the only way that I'm going to give these people what they want is if I keep drinking. So I said, I gotta cut the alcohol off I gotta cut off at the bottom. So you wanna do something right, you gotta cut off the cause of the effect. So the cause was alcohol for me. And I didn't have a drinking problem, but every time I drank, there was a problem. So I cut that off and I went completely done. And that point on, it was about proving the narrative wrong once again about me. And how crazy am I now? Take that.
Yeah.
So
it's man, having people challenge you when you're in a vulnerable position is a really tough thing, because you want to fight back and you may not always have the tools to, because of the position that you're in.
That's right.
And there's only one way to really do it, man. And I just went through it, a couple of years ago, man. I got clean, and it changed my life. You know what I mean? It gave me an outlook on life that I didn't have before, that was clouded. Yeah. And like, I don't got to tell the whole story because it's been told 1,000 times by other people. It's the same story for everybody, man. You go down that dark road, you start drinking, you start using drugs, man. It leads to your mind it gets completely faded and clouded, and you make the worst decisions. I was telling my girlfriend the other day, I was like, when I was using, I made decisions that I never would have thought about making in my life. It turned me into a person that I'm not.
Reckless, just
selfish. Yeah. Just I didn't care about anybody's feelings. I didn't care about anything.
That's right.
I cared about myself. And I think I had to go through that. I think some of the strongest people I know are alcoholics, addicts, people in recovery, people who are moving past that part of their life, because they went through it and they saw that, and they kind of have they have a reference point to go back to and be like, I know what it's like on that side. That's and right. I know what not to be like anymore. I know what to be like now. And that just challenges you to do more things.
But not everybody can get out of it.
No, I know.
And I'll tell you that, a lot of people go to the doctor and they get a script of Xanax, and next thing you know, I'm taking my medication. Yeah. It ain't medication. It's a tranquilizer, bro. Yeah. Stop calling it medication, by the way. Everybody who thinks they're on medication because you're prescribed by the doctor, it's drugs. It's not medication. The doctors are going to write them scripts anyway for you. But when they write a script, don't call it medication, because it's poison. So
how do you feel about like healing yourself in a natural way versus like what do you think about people running to something to just cover up the pain right away instead of going through the steps to actually heal yourself, a way that can actually be permanent?
What I've learned is everybody's built different, Mike. Everybody's built different. Some guys don't have that fortitude in them. Some just don't have, they got that quit in them. Not everybody's going to want to win and get off the mat when the odds are stacked against you. People just lay there. Nah, I'm going to stay down here. And what happens? It keeps getting deeper and deeper and deeper. Before you know, you got 3 teeth. When you smile, it looks like your tongue's in jail and you're a mess and you're all messed up. And now you're 40 years old and you look 70. Yeah. Because you don't take care of yourself, because you let yourself go. Yeah. And not everybody's built that way. And I've learned that. I've learned that through me being built that way. I was like, my biggest fear is failure.
Yeah, me too.
My biggest fear was to not. So in my life, I knew what my legacy was because my dad set my legacy in stone in Rhode Island. I knew what it was. I grew up Jerry's son. And it was like, I'm going to change the legacy of my last name in Rhode Island. Because when you hear Tillinghast, it's connected to nothing but bad. So that was my way. And that's why when I was turning pro, I had every wise guy from New York to Rhode Island telling me, oh, we'll buy you a new car, we'll put you in an apartment. Oh, I said, where were you all my life? My dad did 40 years standing on his head for the mafia. None of you guys came to my house. Nobody, where were you when we couldn't eat? Where were you? There's no food on the table. I said, I didn't see any of you.
Yeah, you know
nobody came to help me do anything. Now that I'm going to do something with my life that I earned all alone, you want to come, thanks, but no thanks. Yeah. And I stayed away from it.
It's so opportunity.
Yeah, of course. But everybody else sold their soul. A lot of guys in Rhode Island would sell their soul to this guy and that guy. And when it goes bad, it's the headline in the paper. Now you've got to where no matter what you've done to accomplish yourself, it's because you were with these people, connected to these people, that you were able to get to where you were.
Yeah.
And that's one thing that I never wanted. I didn't go from the frying pan to the fire as much as I could have. It was easy for me. It was right there.
When you were growing up, did you, was that, I don't have to ask if that was a tough thing to deal with, because I'm sure it was. Well, how did you deal with that? How did you deal with being a Tillinghast, your dad being in prison, being connected to the mafia? How did you deal with all that shit?
From as far back as I can remember, I seen an old sign that said, never mind the dog, beware the owner. Never mind the dog, beware the owner. And ever since then, it was like, yeah, my dad's who he is, but I'm Jarrod Tillinghast, not Jerry's son. I have a first name before a last. And I always knew that I was going to make my mark as Jarrod, not Jerry's son. I separated it because that's who I was. I knew what the stigma was already. But people used to come to me like, oh, I know you're fine. I don't care. Don't talk to me.
How did that feel when your first professional fight, knowing that you were making a name for yourself, that Jarrod Tillinghast is in town, and you're kind of rewriting the Tillinghast name? Because I believe you've done a pretty good job with that.
I think it's just the beginning, Mike. I think I'm just warming up. There's so much more to come. Yeah. There's so many more people to help and serve, and there's so much more to do. I'm just starting. I really feel like 2024, I've had nothing but blessing after blessings from the very first day.
2023, man, was a great year for you too. I mean,
the momentum has been building, but like the beginning of the year, I've gotten like 4 or 5 things that are like on my lap right now that are really big. And
can we talk about something? We want to talk about the call out. What do we got going on with the call out?
Well, the call out, I don't have anything going on with it yet, but
let's explain to everybody what the call out is, how it started. I know that. So we left off at BRAW For It All. Yeah, right. Let's finish off with that.
Right.
Is that still going? Is that something that's dead and you're moving on to the call out?
BRAW For It All.
How did that end? Where's that now?
All right. So BRAW For It All. I run my last event. We run a successful event. My partner comes to me and says, "I want out." I said, "What are you talking about?" He said, "It's not for me anymore. It's getting too personal. Everybody's arguing." So whatever the reason was, he pulled out. So I was like a little upset, but then BRAW For It All went on the show for 4 or 5 years. Then I'm watching this world fall apart. And, I do the Bible study every Saturday morning at my gym since I opened. Before the first day I opened, I did a Bible study there. And it's been every Saturday. I got the best group of guys. And that's been part of my life. So whole idea was this world was coming, it was getting crazy, right? The pandemic happened. Then it's been like boom, 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 boom. It's like somebody falling down the stairs, right? It's only gotten worse and worse and worse. And I'm watching this world fall apart. And I'm about, so I don't break myself up into, I don't belong to a group. There's Democrat, Republican.
Yeah.
Don't put a sticker on me.
Yeah.
I don't, a group is division. It's separation. No matter how you shake a stick at it, BLM, Black Lives Matter, this group, that, it's all division. It's caused to divide, right? And I'm not in the division business. I'm in the bringing people together business. So that's why I'm laying in bed one night and I was like, the call out, I want to do something different and unique. So this was my idea. And, you know, I'm creative and I have a lot of good ideas, but I wanted to be God's soldiers and go and infiltrate the world of division and separation that the government's creating and the people are creating. I wanted to bring people back together through the power of boxing. And I said, how can I do that? So I said, all right, we're going to get 2 guys with a grudge and we're going to send them to training camps where we're going to humble their ass during training camp because they're not regular fighters. They're regular egos running around that want to fight each other. And in that process of that 8 to 10 weeks of training camp, these 2 guys are going to learn life lessons they're not going to learn anywhere else but through the power of boxing. The sacrifice. Is
this all recorded? Is this all going to be like a documentary leading up to the fight?
That's where we got a lot of film and yeah.
So when you reached out to me, you know, you always reach out to me for ideas. Right. Mike, I got this going on. What can we do? How can we work? How can we work together? Yeah. And you know how I just love the build-ups. I love the marketing. I love you know, it's so I had a passion for what you were doing, and I think if you promote it correctly, if you build up the story and you follow their journey through the training camp, and then you get them together, it's kind of like, it's almost like a Contender series, but it's a spinoff because you're going to be able to dig into their individual stories a little bit more.
That's what we're going to do. We're going to get the cameras. We follow these guys around during training camp. We find out who they are, where they come from, and what their beef is about.
My idea was to put them in a house. I still think that's an awesome idea. Well, get an Airbnb, 7 days, 10 days, have them go through a training camp, put cameras in the house. I like
the idea. We got to talk. We got to talk more about
because even
the way that
like
goes.
I told you, man, even though it's been done before, and I know the main thing is like, oh, it's been done before. Yeah. The UFC does it. It works, and the content hasn't been done before. Their content has been done before, but this is it's totally different content, and it's a totally different audience.
I'm thinking that like we can find a way to do it like that, but not in a house or not. We have to.
It'll be tough.
I feel like
I've thought about it a lot. Actually.
Yeah, so there's always a way. Yeah. We have to just keep brainstorming. For sure. We just keep brainstorming, but there's always a way to make that happen. But in my brain, I knew, because I'm a Rocky fan. We all know Rocky Balboa is the best fighter in the world ever, right? You know that.
Yeah, of course.
So obviously I'm a Rocky fan. I know all the movies. So the idea of you owe me a favor, when Apollo told Rocky, you owe me a favor when this is over. What favor? So the idea of these 2 guys going to training camp. Now everybody's looking at the fight. Everybody, the fight, even the fighters, everybody's thinking about the moment of the fight. It's not about the fight. The fight is the smoke bomb to get these guys together after the fight to work as a team and give back to the community on a project of our choice. And that unity, these guys are going to already get that mutual respect because they went through training camp. Now, when they fight, they're still going to have a mutual respect because of the camp and the fight. Now, after the fight, they come together and work together to serve the community.
Now, are you getting people with like real beefs?
Yeah, we're getting real.
So it's kind of like a BRAW For It All spinoff.
It's a BRAW For It All spinoff, but there's a storyline behind it. And the concept really is to bring this world back together. And I'm going to tell you how I'm going to do it. So I've connected with some big time fighters already. I got world, Hall of Fame boxers. We got Iran the Blade Barkley. We got Hector Camacho Jr., Freddie Currell from the Contender. Paulie the Magic Man Malignaggi is my guy. So Damon Feldman, Celebrity Boxing. Shout out to my guy. Yeah. So I'm creating this. So what I tell these guys, I've been on the phone with Larry Holmes. I've been on the phone with Evander Holyfield. Now I'm saying there's no pension in boxing. So boxing's the only sport that you just, Iran lives in the Bronx in an apartment. Iran, he beat Tommy Hearns twice. Yeah. So there's no pension in boxing. So if you're a fighter, you always have to chase the bag. So you'll always have to show up, get on a plane, $5,000 appearance, $10,000. And that's how ex-fighters make their money. They got to go and travel and they take pictures and they make videos and they charge. And so that's kind of what keeps them going, right? So in life, the guys are getting old. They're going to keep traveling. They're going to keep getting on a plane and making appearances. That's going to be for the rest of their life to pay for their lifestyle, right? Or their kids or whatever. I created the call out where, do you remember when they put Michael Jackson and all the biggest stars on the stage and they sang "We Are the World"?
I think I've seen it.
We Are the World.
Yeah.
It was to feed the world.
Yeah, I do remember.
And when they put
I don't remember it, but I've seen
when
it.
they put all the biggest stars together, they fed the world. So the idea with the call out is to get all the biggest stars to say, look, now they jump on board with the concept. Now TV's knocking on our door because they say, oh, George Foreman, oh, him, oh, wow. All these boxing stars, this might be something serious. So now we get attention. Now we create a reality show settling people disputes in the boxing ring. Now we get 4, 5, 6, maybe 10 seasons.
And at that point, you'll have a budget. And at that point, you'll be able to kind of have
everybody
express your ideas a little bit more.
Well, this is an opportunity for all the boxers because once we hit TV and we have a series, everybody's going to be getting paid. And now you don't have to chase the bag anymore because you have a steady income with the call out that comes back every season, and we're doing good like that. And that's the idea with the call out. So
you had your first event. Let's talk about that.
Yeah.
All right, because that was really extraordinary what you did, man. Break it down. How did the first event come about? Let's talk about the card. Let's talk about how it came together, how it fell apart, how you put it back together.
I have the most amazing team. I give a shout out to my team. You guys were amazing, and I was going crazy the whole time. Right up until the last week, the main event and the kid that he was going to fight was his friend. So they kind of like were in cahoots to like fight each other. It was like a choreographed fight, right? So they were going to sell tickets, and they
Lewis.
I'm not going to say any names, but they wanted to sell tickets, and they wanted 50% of the ticket sales, 50% of, they wanted $5,000 a piece up front. Now these guys are friends now. You're gonna fight your friend. You're not gonna really go in on them, and you're trying to like take all the money. Like, so they wanted this crazy. Then next thing you know, they were coming at me with numbers that were just ridiculous. This guy's getting off the couch
a week before the fight.
Yeah, like right up until like at first it was all bored. The week before the fight, they both come in the office like with this ugly energy, making demands, and I was like, yo. That my blood pressure, and I realized how toxic this business is. It takes,
did they understand that it was like a startup? Like it was.
But that's like what I said. I said, bro, this is a startup. I said, we got sponsors' money. It's not like my money. What do you mean? And they just wanted what they wanted. The kid wasn't even training. They weren't even training for it. The next day, one of the Marquise sprains his ankle at work. And now he's out of the fight. He almost had to have surgery or something. So I'm like, it's funny how God works, right? When people want to take advantage. So next thing you know, he hurts his ankle and he's out. So now I'm going to say, all right, well, now I'm going to get you a fight, Lewis, seeing you want to make all that money, and now you're going to fight. So I got in touch with one guy. I forget his name, MMA kid. He wanted to fight.
From Rhode Island?
No, he's, I'll get his name. He's a tough kid. It wasn't an easy fight. It wasn't an easy fight. And now, you can make all that money now. Yeah, I'll give you $20,000 you're gonna make on a card that you were gonna fight your friend on. But
is that what he was asking? 20 grand?
Well, by the time everything was said and done, the percentages and what he wanted, like $5,000 up front, 50% of the ticket sales.
Man. Yeah, that's big money for a local fight.
It's an amateur bout.
It's
a 2-minute rounder. Like you could wear headgear if you want.
Yeah, $1,000.
But yeah, that's what I'm saying. But
it's not about the money. I get it.
Regardless, it was the way it was done.
Yeah.
Right up until the last minute, he was fighting. Now there's almost $10,000 in tickets and stuff out that they ain't giving back nothing. Now Marquise is out, and Lewis all of a sudden pulls out too. So now I got no main event. It's a week before the fight. I walked back outside and I sat in my truck. And I'm breathing. I'm sitting there looking at my phone rings. This is a true story. My phone rings. I look at it. It's my brother, Hector Camacho Jr. I love that guy. I love my team.
Hector Camacho.
Shout out Hector. Hector calls me. He's like, JT, what's up, man? Everything all right? And I start going in.
What made him call you? Like just
out
of nowhere?
We're friends.
But the timing
was crazy.
They call out of the fight. You jump in, you go outside to get air because you're freaking out.
It's God. Listen.
You jump in your truck and your phone rings.
I jump in my truck. My blood pressure was up to my seal. It was out of control. I wanted to fight everybody.
The commission wouldn't have let you.
Don't even look at me. I was out of my mind. I go out in the truck and he calls me, right? So this is like a 30-minute span. He calls me. I tell him everything going on. He goes, man, screw those guys. I'll fight for you. Fly me in. I'll fight the main event. I'm like, what? So he's like, yeah, let me call Freddie and see if Freddie will do it. And Hector called Freddie and then me, Freddie, and Hector get on the phone. Next thing you know, Hector Camacho Jr. is my main event fighting at the West Warwick Civic Center. Come on, who could pull that off? Not only are they fighting for me, but now they're my brothers. And now we're going to move together with this call out. And like everything we do as a team, that's the nucleus, the base of my squad. So we're going to move forward with it. But I developed brotherhood. They came here. We went to the feast together. It's like genuine brothers.
You had
Kevin too, and Juanita. I give you a shout out.
You had a box full of tickets the days before.
Yo, I did. Listen, Mike, for this, it's making me sweat thinking about it.
It's hot, man.
No, that moment, I went and I grabbed all the sponsors. Now I know everybody in my team was amazing and did what they were doing, but nobody was bringing in no money. Nobody was bringing anything. So I'm going crazy with sponsorships, right? Now, every time I came back in the office, I didn't have the fights done yet. Now, once I got Hector fight, and then a kid walked in my gym the same night from Florida, pro fighter, and I matched him up with someone else. It just worked out, right? So the fact that Hector called me, it gave me I was like, all right, now I can focus on the tickets. So the fights were already done now. Now I got the fights done all in one night. So I was like relieved. I run in the office and I'm looking at the box and like the stacks of tickets. It was almost all the tickets.
How many did you sell before? So there was a week left until the fight.
6 days.
6 days. And how many tickets did you sell at that point?
All right. So there was about 200 tickets left. 200.
With 6 days left to the fight.
You know how that looks in a box?
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
And they sat there. All the teams moving in different directions and setting the building up and setting up the event. And like I said, it was amazing. And the tickets are sitting there. And now I'm like, all right, we got all this and we don't have a crowd. So I was like, how am I going to do this? So I grabbed all the tickets and I took them all out and I made stacks of 10. I took $100 off each stack for the highs and the lows. And I called 20 of my diehard people and they all bought the tickets off me and brought everybody. And next thing you know, the place was gone.
Place was packed, man.
Packed. But I had that, I could call 30 people to buy 10 tickets in emergency that they brought all their friends. And next thing you know, I had everybody there. It just happened so.
So was that place was, I saw pictures, man. It was packed. It was packed. How was the event?
The event was crazy. It was awesome. Yeah. They're still talking about it. The commission was like taking pictures of everybody. He was trying to you had to see him at the weigh-in. Like, it's my event. He's jumping in. He's taking all. I was like, get out of here.
That's great.
Yeah.
What's next? What's next for the call out?
We are in the planning right now process. I'm in contact with a couple of people on social media that I've been talking to. I'm trying to get them on board. And the call out will be announced soon. I have a September date at their last resort. So
nice.
Yeah, I have a September date at the last resort. That was the original place I started.
I was just going back to the last resort.
Back to the last resort. Yeah, in September. We'll talk more about that off air.
For sure.
So we could get that pumping.
One thing I really respect about you, man, is how good of a father you are. And it's, being a single father, being a father, that you only get your kids a certain amount of time it's challenging. It can be tough, but it seems like you do it very well. And it seems like your relationship with your kids is incredible. How did you get to that point? And what are talk about,
In life, sometimes you never. I waited all my life to have kids. I didn't. My father was, all my brothers, my uncles, they all said I was gonna have 500 kids all over the world, and on purpose, I was like, my gene is too good. I am not giving just anybody my kid. Once you get by my handsomeness, it's my modesty that really stands out. So, but I knew my gene. I knew what I had. I knew God put me together good, and I didn't want to just have kids with anybody. It was something I wouldn't do to my kid, because then if I did have kids over here, it's not fair, and I didn't want to ever do that. So I waited, and then I got married, and I had the kids, and you never know where life will take you. And, next thing you know, I am out of the house, and divorce is happening. So the first 3 years I was with Sebastian, Julian was just born. So Julian was a baby. So he never known daddy being home. Sebastian and daddy were like day and night. So wherever I went, he was with me, and I just kind of was, anybody would go out, go to the casino, go here, go there. Daddy just stayed. I slept in the crib with him. So me and Sebastian, I drew that bond with him where I didn't have with Julian. So only Julian knows daddy is when he's coming to daddy. And so Sebastian me and him had that bond already, but he was still 3 and it's young. So now I'm out of the house, and it didn't become about her and I, because, the way they did it, it wasn't about this. It was about, I got to protect the kids.
Yeah.
I'm like, wait.
It gets gross, man.
Wait, you got to protect what? I was the one that was with them the whole time.
Yeah.
You wasn't around.
They look at you like a totally different person all of a sudden. Like completely different person.
All of a sudden, it became about, he's crazy. We can't. So they put the kids in the middle of something that I was like, wait a minute. That's like dirty almost. But that's the way it happened. So I didn't see them for a while, and next thing you know, they get a lawyer, and now I got served, and now I'm in the system with the courts. Now they're telling me how, what, and why. And
isn't that frustrating, man?
Well, it's frustrating because in this court system, you got to have money to feed the lawyer, to keep going. And eventually the next guy runs out of money, and it's the story of
it's a racket, man.
One guy has money, the other guy don't. You can only fight them so long until you're out of funds, and they endless funds, and next thing you know, you're being dictated on how, what, and why by courts and by allegations and by all this stuff that was like crazy. So it came at me hard, and I lost a lot of time with the boys because of it, because it wasn't about just being divorced and then 2 grown-ups and you deal with it. You got kids, we still got a parent. But it became about like, how, when, and why I'm going to see my own children. And that was what really.
A lot of the times when you go through situations like that, both individuals, they're very hurt, and they try to project that pain onto the other individual, and they want that other individual to feel the same amount of pain, because they may not look at you and think you feel that same amount of pain, because maybe you're masking it, maybe you're better with dealing with it, but in all reality, deep down, you're crushed. You're dying inside. But they can't see that because you're not expressing it. So they want you to feel the pain that they're feeling. And it may be vice versa. I have total respect for single mothers. I have total respect for single fathers. I know the deal, man. But there's a point where you got to draw the line in the sand, where there's just taking advantage of somebody and there's using the system against them, because it's a common issue that's happening. I was just talking to a really good friend today. I won't mention his name, but he's paying almost $600 a week in child support, something crazy. And he's not making good money. He's making like decent money. You know what I'm saying? It's nothing to where you should be having to pay that amount. There's certain things that just shouldn't, how is that person supposed to live his life and provide for his kids on his own time and provide for his own life in order to be a better person for his kids? I just think the system it needs to be restructured, because it's been around for so long. And when things like this, get taken advantage of to the point that they are, I think they need to be restructured a little bit. I mean, because it can be used as a weapon, and I see it a lot, man. It's sad to see.
Yeah. Well, let me tell you, I've learned things about myself that I didn't know existed. I learned patience. I learned how to be in the eye of the storm and still not act on things, and it's taught me a lot, and it's actually made me a better human being. It's made me more compassionate. It's made me tell the truth about the truth because it's the truth, and I'm transparent because that's the only way you're gonna grow. And I lay in my own shit and I lay in everybody else's shit because they don't want to. And I know that, like, nobody wants to take responsibility for anything they do. And if it's any kind of responsibility, it's, oh, well, I did that because you did that. Nobody wants to own anything. That's the world we live in. It's rampant. It's all over the place. And I see it daily. And listen, own up, man. I do it. I make a mistake. I own it.
You know what's funny is
people don't own nothing.
People respect you if you own up to your shit more than if you try to disguise it.
Right.
So it's
not about the people either. You know, who cares what people think? I don't give a shit what
they
people
do.
think.
They do.
The people that are hiding.
That's my point. They do.
That is the facts. They're afraid of how they're gonna look to the people.
Yes.
What?
Yeah.
So no. So you're gonna narcissistically.
I've done it.
Gaslight and do that to people because you're worried about your image.
Yeah, you're worried about how people are going to look at you because you're in a position to where people can look at you and judge.
That's right.
So when you're in a vulnerable position like that, and you know, shit, people are going to figure me out, but they already do. It's genuineness is something that comes very seldom with people. I've noticed. It's in the business that I'm in, it's, I've seen all the stories. I've heard all the stories. It's very hard to meet somebody that you truly have a genuine, like, this guy's a solid guy. You could tell he's telling the truth. He's not hiding anything. And that right there is more valuable than I think people even realize.
It's value. That's value.
It really is, man. When you have somebody that you can count on, like, I know I can call you any time of the day.
That's right.
Any time of the day, and you'll pick up your phone and you'll be there. And that doesn't really coincide with what I'm saying, but it takes a certain type of person with all those qualities to kind of get through.
It takes a man of strength, but you can only get your strength through God. There's only one way to get your strength truly is through him. He's got me through a lot of tough times. He's got me in, and I always relied on him, and I always knew that he was watching my back. I always knew it. Like, they tried.
Were you always very religious?
I was. So the very religious is from as far back as I can remember. As far back as I can remember, when I would be hiding in the closet because what's going on in the house, and I would always look up and say, "God protect me, God protect." I would always talk to him. Always. I just always, because I needed something. I didn't know there was nothing else there. So I always went there as long as I can remember. And then as I grew up, I would go and destroy my life, and God would pick me up by my collar with my legs still going 100 miles an hour. He would stop me back at the line, smack me in the butt, and I'd go running off, and I'd be like, I'm going to go destroy my life again, God, but I'm coming, just not ready yet. And I kept just destroying my life, and he just kept picking me up and stopping me over. And I was so grateful for the way he built me, because so many times a lot of people are going to tap out. That's just the bottom line. People tap out and they succumb to the poor me.
Yeah.
God, why me? But, I never did that. And I always was like, all right, come on, we're going to get up again. And I would climb up and I would go, and I would just go. And he built me with that stamina to go the distance no matter what. And I just knew he built me that way. So I always knew it came from somewhere. It was, I was born with it, but he had to put it in me. So I always had that fortitude to keep going, but it was because of him. So I always looked up and said, I'm coming. And when all that happened, and I finally never thought I could be any lower in my life than I was growing up, and all of a sudden I'm worse than I've ever been. It was like, wow, because the stakes were higher and things, it just mattered later on in life. And all of a sudden I'm back down at the bottom of the barrel, and I was like, how did this happen? Like, I'd never seen it coming. So when I was in court and people were trying to put me in jail so they could say, look, I told you so. And it was by their merit and their corruption and all that other stuff. But that's for another day. But when I said, God, get me out of this today, and I'm yours. That's it. I was ready at that moment. And I got out, and I never looked back. And I've been right there ever since, like I said. And the blessings, by now I understand, like, wow, it was never really about me. And my whole life I just didn't know, because I wasn't sober and I wasn't focused on the right thing. So I was blinded by the shiny objects, right? This is what social media is now, right? Everybody wants to take that picture, and that don't mean nothing to me. I don't deal with that stuff. I know it's the enemy. I know that's what the world is. So anything the world is, I don't want to be, because I was it. I created it. So in my life, and now I understand it. But now I'm just staying, I stay here, man. It's the only way. Listen, there's evil in this world. Is this true?
Yeah, for
there's
sure.
dark in this world, right? There's good in this world too. And there's light in this world. And that's Jesus. Yeah. Period.
You can, when you meet certain people and you give them a handshake or whatever, you come across their path, you can tell when there's darkness inside of them. You feel that energy, man. Listen, I never really was big into like the whole energy thing and like kind of like being able to feel somebody out. You know, I've always had that wisdom of like, I kind of knew what that person was about, but there was a point in my life, and it was when I got clean, and it's that I developed this feeling of when I meet some people, anybody, I can kind of give them a good like judgment of who they are just by the energy that they're giving off. You know, and it's when you say that there's evil in this world, man, there really is. You meet some people, and just the way they, you know, tell a story about something with no remorse, or, you know, I've been to jail, and I've met people who have done awful things, man, and the way they just talk about it, it just gives me goosebumps just thinking about how easily they can say these things. So when you say there's evil in this world, there is
demons are real, and they get in people, and that's the facts.
Yeah. What do you think that is, man? What do you think that is? Like, what do you think those people are here for? Do you think that it's a mental illness? Do you think that it's like, do you think that they developed that as a child? Like, do you think it's maybe how they were brought up? Like, how does somebody become like an evil person?
Well, a lot of it has to do with your upbringing, right?
Yeah.
Because we're not all born like that. But when you're born into chaos, and you're born into, so this is what it is in life, really. Like, the human species we're damaged. We're all damaged, all of us. We all grew up with emotional damage. Whether it was minor or major, the fact that you grew up with that damage is a part of who you are today. You have emotional stuff in your basement that you forget about. But if you drink, if you do something that triggers those emotions, those things are still inside of us because we never knew how to heal them.
They triple, they double.
They double.
Yeah.
So that ugliness that's in us, it never goes away, because people talk about it all the time. You got to heal your emotional history, right? How do you do that? That's the thing. Like, all right, you hear it all the time. How do you go about it? Where's the recipe? Somebody got a book? So I was fortunate enough to get hooked up to my church, to these different classes and programs. And at that point, I was already in. So I'm like, I'm willing to do whatever it takes to get to where I want to be emotionally, because I didn't want to go into any more relationships and throw up my emotional history on somebody else. It's not fair. You ever get into a relationship and the girl's been burnt or the guy's been burnt before by their last relationship, and they say to you, brand new, you got to prove yourself to me. Wait, well, I've been burnt before. Well, you better run now.
Do you feel like you were doing that
that? No, I don't feel like I was projecting any of that, because I understood myself.
Were you scared of doing that? Is that why it took you?
I just didn't want to be with somebody. I didn't want to go and be in a relationship, because now that I went through like some serious classes in healing. Like I went in. I'm telling you, I went in.
What made you sort that out? Did you know that you needed it? Like, was it something that you like just were like, I got to do something?
It wasn't easy to go and do. It was one of the hardest things. Big grown man like me that only knew rah, rah, rah and only acted off of those angry emotions. I had to go and be vulnerable. Bro.
What did you do for money when you were a kid? Did you what kind of jobs did you work? What kind of
Is that a blow up question?
No, I mean
I was in, what did I do for money? I would rob drug dealers and stuff like that. I was into stupid things. I did a lot of stupid things in my life, and I made a lot of bad choices. I never hurt people. I never stole out of stores. Wasn't thief. I wasn't a thief. I would just take it from them because it wasn't like,
Yeah. The reason why I ask is because I noticed that now you're not really focused on money.
Yep.
You're doing things because you enjoy doing them.
I'm doing things because
you see a higher purpose.
I know, like, Mike, like my time, it's not yet. My time, everybody arrives in their own time. I know one thing that I'm not chasing it. I know that if I stay, it's that turtle that just beats the rabbit because the rabbit keeps taking detours, right? And the rabbit's fast and he goes out but the turtle just keeps going. He don't stop, right? And the detours and everything, next thing you know, he misses it and the turtle crosses the finish line. That is the way I move. I don't have to attack anything because I know if I just keep moving in this manner, things are just happening to me, Mike. Everything's coming to me. The Camacho fight came to me. This guy, Henry, walks in my gym. The people I have in my life, it's manifesting in my life because of the way I'm serving people. Mm-hmm. So I know I'm going to arrive. It's going to be a big arrival when I do, but it's still, do
you go into these projects like, man, I hope I make a shit ton of money from this?
No.
You go into it because
I go into these projects wanting to put the best product out there.
Yeah.
And it matters that I put the best product. I'll take a hit to give my team money. That's what I do. I'll take nothing to pay the fighter or the kid that don't have nothing, that missed a week of work to train for this for me. Then I'll give him the money. Then I don't want it. Take it. I know my time's coming. I do. I just know my time's coming. I'm like I said, I don't stop.
Yeah.
The marathon is all the way to the box. I'm not a boxer. Let's get this straight. I'm a professional fighter, retired. I was good at what I did, but it's not who I am. It's something I did. Boxing was something I did. It doesn't define me. And that's why you see a lot of fighters today. Where are they now? Where are the fighters now? Where are they? You don't see them anymore. They don't come out. They don't help people. They don't do nothing because that's all they were, boxers. And now they're working construction somewhere, or they're at a bar and they don't do shit with their life. You don't see them out there making moves, helping people, giving back. You don't see it. I was never a boxer. It's just something I did.
How did that career take off? What was your finishing record?
9-0.
9-0. Yeah. And when you stopped, was it because you just didn't have it anymore? You didn't want to do it anymore?
I had some surgery. I'm left-handed, but I'm a converted southpaw. I fight right-handed, so my left hand is my lead punch. And I had some elbow surgery, and every time I would bend my elbow, I would chop my bone chips with slicing at my tendons. And if my arm went back like this, I'd be on the floor. I was like, I couldn't extend my arm. I had bad inflammation in my elbow, so I went on the shelf. I had a surgery, and I've been out. And then I just kind of got caught up in life. Got caught up in life, and I just was out all that time. And then I decided that in 2007 that I wanted to try it again 10 years later. And I came back better than I ever was.
That was your 9th fight?
That was my 8th and 9th.
8th and 9th.
Yep. And then I was married at the time, and they see me, my nose was bleeding, and I broke my nose pretty bad, and they kind of encouraged me to go to school and get my degree. And so I walked away from boxing, and I have a bachelor's in education, secondary education, but it still wasn't something I would have done if I wasn't married. I just kind of wanted to go for a run at that time because I knew it was my last hurrah.
Yeah.
And I was in a good place.
What weight did you fight at?
168.
168.
Yeah,
What did you walk around at?
210.
Talk about cutting weight. How was that process?
Oh, I walked around at Pillsbury the Doughboy. I put on my Fruit of Loom underwear. They were laughing at me. The guys.
What was your process?
I was
of cutting
big.
weight?
So the process of cutting weight, I would run distance. You know, not 30 minutes, but a 60-minute run on a slow pace. And that would burn fat over the course of time. And of course, your diet and working out every day. But it was about the hour. I would have to run an hour every day. And it was always like 5, you know, and then I would do wind sprints at the football field, do like 100-yard wind sprints with 10-second rest in between. So I would get my heart rate. You know, I was the long run. That long run is key. You run a half hour, you don't stop burning yet, but you put the hour in at a good pace, and that's where the fat starts pouring off. Yeah,
road work is one of the best things to do for trimming up, and it's just like you said, those slow paces for long periods of time. It just melts the fat away,
and your body burns for the rest of the night because you got that long run in. So that's kind of how I always got the weight off. Yeah.
Who was your trainer?
I had a bunch of trainers. I was with Kurt Reed, taught me for a little while.
Did Peter ever train you?
Peter Manfredo.
Shout out to Peter. That's my guy.
Carl Chief Prout. John Dino Dennis.
Yep.
You know, Dino was the best.
Yeah, Dino was good shit.
Dino was the best.
Yeah.
His knowledge on boxing, he forgot things that these people know now.
Yeah.
You know, I don't care who you are in New England. They could say what they want. Dino Dennis fought George Foreman. He fought Jerry Cooney. He fought Scott Ledoux. He was ranked 10th in the world when heavyweights were heavyweights, period. And he's still in one piece today. Dino's the best thing that New England has seen as a fighter and as a coach, but he didn't really coach anybody. He coached me, but he never really trained anybody else. But
do you have a bunch of fights on YouTube?
I have like a couple fights on YouTube.
How was the build up to the fights? Like, so when you would take these fights, were you anxious going out? What was your mindset like walking out? Cause I want to try to relate that to your everyday life now. And if you've gained that knowledge and that experience, and if you use some of those tools in life today.
Yeah. Well, when I fought, my fear in life was losing, period. It was always because I took so many L's in life emotionally, you know, that there was no way if I can physically control this, that there's no way I'm losing. Again, I don't give a shit who you are. And I would put it into the way I prepared for the fight. Because I knew when Dino told me something, if he told me jump off a bridge, I know he'd been there while I'm jumping off a bridge. I'll worry about it later. And I would just listen to everything he said. And the fact that I knew one thing was if I trained every single training camp and I topped the last training camp, how could I possibly top the last training camp? How I crushed it. I did everything. How can I I'd sleep outside in the woods, or I would do something crazy that would get me by that last training camp. I always created something bigger and something more meaningful. So I would train for Godzilla, ripping the whole town, the city apart. Buildings coming down, and then there's me coming out.
How long was your camp usually for each fight?
I would get a head start. I would like get a date, and then I would go right in. But it was the way I prepared, Mike. I trained, and I would go so hard till my heart was ready to explode. And I did every single fight like that. And I knew that I was ready for Godzilla if he showed up. And
so you were confident walking out.
Yeah, that's right, because the fight was already won in the way I prepared for it. I didn't win a fight on that night. That's not where I won the fight. My fight was won a week ago.
Oh, that's such a good way to put it, because it's so true.
The work was done.
Yeah.
I did the work. I know you didn't outwork me, and you're dead when I get in the ring, period. And I was ready for Godzilla, but if they put Bambi in front of me, then I'm sorry, but it's me or you, and that's how I did it.
So I think coinciding with everything, right? I think what you're doing right now, and all your ventures, the call out, the gym, everything that you're doing right now, I think it's very similar to the way you prepared for fights. I think it's you trained for the moment that comes later on that you know is going to come. That's already won. The fight's already won in your mind right now. I believe you know that this fight is you already won. You're just right now. You're
just
putting
kind
in
of going through the
you're putting in that groundwork.
That's right.
And it's an important lesson for everybody to know that if you put in the work, the success will follow. It may not be the form of success that you think,
right,
or that you ask for,
and it won't come in the way you think it's
not going to come in the way you want.
It comes in different ways.
It 100% does, man.
And you have to be prepared for it.
Yeah.
Because opportunity. And the other thing I want to say, and I'm sorry to cut you off, but I want to make a point. Like, everybody's looking downfield. They're looking so far downfield. They miss the
elaborate on
that
that, man, because I want to touch on that.
Everybody's like, in other words, I can't wait to be this. And they miss the process to get there. But that's where the win is, in the process. So put your brakes on, slow down, and be in the moment. Because your mind is already at the finish line when you still got a race to run. You don't know what's gonna happen. You may twist your ankle. You're looking so far downfield, you ain't seeing the power holes. So slow down. You get there, but get there by being in the moment. And that's what I'm really good at. I used to always want something that was so far away that I was unattainable because of my eyes, my vision was all the way down the end of the field, and these blessings are coming right in front of me, and I'm like, get out of my way. I'm looking because the crowd's looking down there. Everybody's looking down here. And I'm like, wait a minute. I'm missing something. So I kind of peeled back, and when I prayed for patience, God gave me a wife, an ex-wife, and my kids' situation. And then I had no choice but to be patient, because now I can't do nothing because I was being arrested every 2 seconds. So I was like, now I really had to be alone and be patient. I've grown crazily from it, but now I really enjoy the moment, because that's all we really have is the moment. And if we kind of stay in the moment, we can enjoy the present where we are, not looking down the road and what's going to be is going to be, Mike.
Yeah.
What's going to be is going to be, right? But if we stay here, that's the happiness. That's the real, to be present where we are.
Yeah, I've done a lot of things in the last couple of years that I thought was going to lead to one thing, but it just completely spun into something that I never would have imagined, and just landed on my lap in a completely different way that I enjoyed still, because the process was like you just said, like, I enjoyed the process. I didn't get to the point where I wanted to get to and then say, I forgot about, I didn't get any lessons, because everything that I do, I try to learn a lesson from. This conversation, every time we talk, every time I talk to somebody that I respect and that I try to gain wisdom from and knowledge from, I take it as a lesson. My failures, everything I take as a lesson, and I try to flip it into something that can be used as a positive thing. And
you can't win unless you lose.
No, you can't. You can't. And I never ever had that mentality. I always used to say, I win anyway. I always used to think I was winning, but I never sat back and said, it's kind of like the laying in your own shit thing.
Yeah.
It's like when I started taking responsibility of really what I was doing and saying, like, I'm not winning at all, man. I'm not doing shit right now. Like, I got to start doing different things. And then I started appreciating, like, the climb. They say it all the time. The climb is the best part to the top.
It's the best.
You know what I mean? And like, once you get to the top, there's really nowhere else to go. Once you achieve that goal, that's why, like, with fitness, and I want to touch on fitness a little bit, because I remember you got into really good shape. I think when that climb to the top is something that you need to take lessons from and just carry on. It's a
rock bottom has built more champions than privilege ever has, ever will. It's the only place to start from. There's only one place to go. But a lot of times you get people that just stand on, I'm going to stay down here. Don't worry about, no, I don't want a hand. I want to sulk over here in my own sorrow and feel bad for myself and blame everybody else for why I'm laying on the ground in my life. And my mom didn't do this. My dad didn't do that.
Yep.
no matter what, I still try to lift everybody up, and I still try to show them something I might have did in that moment that helped me, because I don't have the answers, but I know I have some blueprints that I know worked for me. Here's a blueprint. Try this. You know, if they take it and run with it, then great. But if they don't, they're gonna stick. They you know, there's a lot of people that just lay down and you know, I'm all right. I just want to lay here.
Yeah.
How's that working out for you?
You got really heavy at one point. What was your heaviest?
260.
260.
Yeah.
And you're like 5'10"?
On stilts, yeah.
5'10" on stilts. So that's big, man. 260. I got up to 280. I was a fat ass, man. I almost hit 300 pounds.
I used to be body by Jake. Then I was body by Cake.
Yeah. Yeah. So what was that process getting back? Because I remember that whole, you know, when you were kind of documenting that whole experience of getting back into shape.
Yeah, I don't like to speak anything into existence, and I don't give power to words out of my mouth, like as far as if I'm diagnosed with something, you know, like there's a immune system thing that they said I have.
I remember I was there the day you got that news.
That causes inflammation, yeah. and that's why the inflammation and fluids attacked my eye, and I went blind, and there was a couple of things, and there was this, you know, the doctor said I have this, and so I know food heals, and I know food kills, and we live in America. So now that they know that we're on to everything, they're shooting up our vegetables too now, and our fruits. Yeah. So what is safe and what isn't genetically? I don't even know, Jarrod. You know, no you go in. You know, how do you trust anything?
I know.
So I know that the only way that food will heal you and food will kill you. So I kind of went in on my herbs and my plants, and I completely changed everything. And then you know, no alcohol, so I'm not aging like I was. 10 years ago, you look at a picture of me, I was like, wow, I look like I look at my age now.
Yeah, you were bloated.
I was ugly.
Yeah,
I didn't like it.
Yeah, I
didn't like who I seen in the mirror. It wasn't like I wasn't comfortable. It was ugly. It was uncomfortable. So once I go to my doctor and he gives me these blood pressure prescription and cholesterol.
Isn't it so frustrating being on that shit because you know that there's a solution?
So he gives me, my numbers were crazy and my numbers were out of whack and my weight was way high. And he gives me these 2 prescriptions. I'll see you next year. I said, all right. So I get the prescriptions and I look at them. I go home, I hang them on my refrigerator. I never took them. I looked at them and I said, all right, I'm going to do this without it. And I kind of went in and I started eating. I went back at my year appointment and I was down 63.5 pounds. All my numbers were 100 perfect. Everything with my skin, I lost like all that weight. And he looks at me, he goes, wow. Like he's reading my numbers for the first time. And he's going, wow, wow, wow. And then he's like, you know, wow, 60, you look great. Tell me, like, what'd you do? I said, why didn't you tell me to go home and eat a piece of kale? You gave me a pill. I said, I just changed my diet. Well, diet's key. He wasn't that old.
So do you think that these doctors, like, what do you think?
Listen,
they're making money. I know that's the whole thing.
You're not making money unless you're writing a prescription.
Yeah.
So if you go to a doctor.
Is that the deal with doctors?
That's the deal. What big pharma?
But they're on a salary.
I don't know what it is, but they're getting money, writing prescriptions, big pharma. That's the way it goes, right? So you go to a doctor that you're supposed to trust. The doctor sees you're heavy and he don't tell you ever to go and change your diet and eat this and eat that. This is gonna no. He said, oh, you're heavy. Let me get you a prescription of this. And now you leave with 5 prescriptions and you go to CVS and now you're on high blood pressure pills. What?
Yeah.
I gotta count on you to tell me how to get healthy. This is what you do. I've always been the one to challenge the pill thing. You know, I wasn't my thing. So I would always challenge, like, doc, I go to the doctor, I broke my collarbone. I go to the doctor and he writes me out these Oxycontin. And he puts the prescription. I look, I said, what's that? He said, Oxycontin. I said, get my chart. My chart. He's looking. I said, look to my chart. Where is I ever took an opiate in my chart? Is there any opiates in my chart?
Yeah, so why are you introducing it to me?
Why are you giving me an Oxycontin when there's nothing to do with opiates in my child. Why?
Yeah.
Why? I don't want your pill. Keep it. And I would go through a broken collar with no medication and get through it, suffering.
Did you see that documentary on Netflix, the OxyContin like error, how they marketed the prescriptions and how they went to all these doctors' offices and they basically, were whining and dining them and buying them cars and watches. And if you wrote this amount of scripts per year or per month, we'll give you this. And
what did I just say?
A lot of backdoor deals, man. And listen,
what did I just say?
Listen, these guys, they created a pill. There was only Percocet or Vicodin at the time, and they knew that the pain medication thing was starting to ramp up, and they came out with this pill called OxyContin. They came out with a 20 milligram, right? They dropped it. Numbers went off the charts. People are making money left and right. Then they go, let's come out with an OxyContin 40 milligram. Let's give them more because we'll be able to make more money off of the 40s. 40s come out, they start killing it. They're making millions and millions. Then they go, let's make an 80 milligram. And they get to the point where I think they went up to 120, but they were making money every single one that they were increasing. They were making more and more profit. And at the end of the day, it was strictly about money. They knew that this was ruining lives. They knew that they were going to people and telling them that this was not an addictive substance. You're perfectly fine. It's in your head. And these people are losing their lives, losing their families, losing everything because they're listening to a doctor that they can trust. Now, the same thing goes for any other medication, blood pressure medication. I was on blood pressure medication when it wasn't even a blood pressure problem. I have SVT, which is ventricular tachycardia. My heart skips. It's an internal issue that actually needs to be fixed. Like it's a muscle that overworks or whatever.
But don't speak that and don't give it power.
Right, but it's there. Whatever.
You don't even have to say you got it. You don't have it.
But my point is, they gave me medication that had nothing to do with it. Hey, try this.
Yeah.
If that works, roll with it. I got all these side effects. I'm like, fuck, what is this? But, so like, it's tough that you can't go to somebody. But listen, there's so much information on the internet now, and between the people that we know, you can look at somebody and say, that dude's doing something right. Let's figure out what he's doing. I'm eating 5 eggs in the morning. I'm doing avocado, this, that. All right, let's try that. And
anything man touches is no good. What is good for the body is already here on earth. It was already here. It's all here for us. Anything man touches is poison. Period. That's what. There's nothing else to it. You can't even eat. The meats are all genetically modified. The eggs are I mean, no matter what you touch, no matter what man touches, it's got something in it to cause cancer or cause something to do with getting sick.
Yeah.
So they put it in our food, knowing damn well we got to go get medication from the doctor, and the doctors are writing the prescription for Big Pharma.
Yeah, that's what it all comes down to. It's that cycle of just profit. And these big corporations are just making money from the addiction, the sugar addiction. They're putting, it's such an intricate, well thought out plan that's been happening for so long that they just have it down.
Is it really well thought out if everybody's
it's thought out enough to the point where they're making billions of dollars and they don't care about our overall, they don't care about how we feel. They don't care about how the people are in our own country are going. We're the most obese country in the world, man. You go anywhere and it's actually, we were watching TV the other night and I'm like, what is going on? And it's sad, man. And I think, we touched on this last week a little bit. I don't think enough people know how they could actually turn their life around with simple things.
I'm telling you.
Cutting sugar out, cutting just simple things that they're doing.
Again, this stuff isn't easy to do because some people will say, oh, I can't live without sugar in my coffee.
I know.
20 sugars and,
It's an addiction, man.
You can't. Some people just don't. They're not built for the storm.
Yeah.
Some people just want to be okay with it, and that's okay, I guess. How's that working out for them?
Yeah.
For me, it doesn't work out. For me, I always seek to be better than me, not anyone else. I want to be more humble. I want to be more giving. I want to be making the good choices in the moments I do get angry. I don't want to say the wrong things. So all the stuff that I do is about me. It's about internally, the internal stuff that I work on for me. I already got the physical stuff. It's not about who gives a shit. At the end of the day, Mike, the Jarrod Tillinghast has a good left hook and can fight. It means nothing.
No, I know.
It means not. I don't want to be known by a guy with a good left hook. At the end of the day, this guy helped a lot of people. He served people. That's
when you're on your last days and you're in the casket and people are speaking your eulogy, they're not gonna say, "Oh, he had $100,000 in the bank. He had a Corvette. He had this." They're gonna say, "Jarrod helped so many people. He did this. He started this." They're not going to say anything. They're not going to say he had a hell of a right hook.
No.
You know, and you've done such a great job with cementing that, dude.
Well, I feel like it's just the beginning. I feel like we're pouring the concrete, but we're still pouring. You know, we got a lot of giving. We have a lot to pour on people. I have a lot to offer, and I want to just give people my experience and give them my sincerity and let them know that, I don't say no to anyone. You come in my gym, you don't have money, I'm not saying no to you. Come on, jump in. I don't say no. I just I know one thing. This is what I do know. Because of the damaged life I lived emotionally, I hurt a lot of people growing up. Drinking, knocking guys out. I did a lot of damage. I hurt a lot of people. And I spent the first half of my life hurting people. Even if I helped a lot of people, I still spent the first half of my life hurting people. So now that I have vision and I'm clear, I'm going to spend the next half of my life serving people.
Yeah.
That's the way I'm doing it.
Do you ever catch yourself regretting all that shit?
Nah. I just, it is what it is, right? Yesterday's gone and we're never going to get it back. So if we live in regret, we're going to be stuck. You can never get yesterday back, but you can always start today and make a new ending. That's kind of how I do it. I don't look at regrets and all that. I say, all right, today and the rest of my life is going to be this way. I already did all that. I understand it. That's not for me. And the thing you said earlier about demons and good and evil, right? So where is good and evil?
That's a good question. Me and Sheena have this conversation all the time. It's like, who made the rules? I think it's a feeling deep that you get. If you feel it's wrong, it's wrong.
Evil is. Good and evil comes in people, places, and things. And I'm going to tell you, when I left the house and I was back in, I went in, I was hanging with some guys. We were partying, drinking. These guys are, alcohol was only my biggest problem, but it was a problem because I was dangerous when I would drink. So, but I didn't know that hanging with our friends and going to have a few drinks and being with that crowd of people who were doing dark things and living in darkness, now that is the people, the crowd we choose to hang with. What are they doing? Where are they going? What kind of darkness are they bringing in their life? If they're snorting coke, if they're with girls, if they're doing whatever it is that's attracting darkness to them, those are the first, the people. The second is the things. What are you doing that is connected to darkness that you shouldn't be doing? And the last one is places. I used to walk in Wonderland at the end of the night at 12 o'clock at night, and I just was with my friends, and it was just a building. It wasn't nothing to me. I didn't even go near the place. I didn't even look at them. But who was in that building that sold fentanyl to a kid that killed him, that has a murder on him, that has a body on him? That is the darkness that you walk into. And it seeps into every hole in our body, and we take it home and infect everybody in our life. It's the people, places, and things that bring darkness on us. And then once I was like, whoa, I got goosebumps saying it right now. So I changed all three of them aspects. And I just stay in the light now because I know where the dark is.
So going back to the things, I think what kind of constitutes darkness and something that's wrong is just there's got to be a beginning stage where people are like, okay, that's right and that's wrong, right? There could be that, or that could have developed just from the feeling you get of doing something. And you know what I'm talking about, that feeling, like if you're doing something wrong, you feel it, you know it. And it's like, some people may not think that that's wrong, but if you feel it, then it's wrong.
It's wrong.
So like
your instinct, you got to run with it.
Right.
Your hunch is going to tell you the truth. How many times have you said, oh, I knew it. How come I didn't just do it? And we always beat ourselves up for not following our instinct. It happened so much to me growing up that I go on my instinct because I know it's right. I know my first instinct is right. It's always right. We ignore it because we want to see better in people, or we want the outcome to be different. Maybe if we no, it's always going to be the instinct. You got to go with it right away. It's the truth, and it will save you from a lot of grief and a lot of problems in the future when you just go with your instinct. If you have a hunch on something, you run with it because that's the way to go.
When you were younger, do you think you were attracted to that dark shit?
Well, I grew up in the dark.
Yeah.
I was born in the dark. I didn't know any better.
Yeah.
All I knew was dark, so it was like, it's like going to school and all you learn is this doctrine, and that's kind of what I grew up in, so I didn't know anything else. All I knew was darkness. But I didn't know it was dark then. It was just hurtful, and it was a lot of things that would be emotionally connected to it. There was a lot of down times in my life where I was like, I didn't want to be alive. I didn't want to be here. And I just, but when you grow up and you kind of have I started growing up, I was took into all the football games. I was the best athlete on the field at all times. So all the parents would pick me up and I would go to different houses and homes and I'd be like, oh, I like the way this family works. I like the way that family works. And then I'd go back into my house wondering what's going to happen next. And I always knew that this was wrong and that was right. But when I got older, everybody has problems. So the things that we think are right, there's emotional abuse going on in that house. There's this kind of abuse going on. And, everybody's damaged. Did
you grow up with your mom?
I grew up with my mom and a lot of my family members. And
stepdad or something?
Stepdad and aunts and grandmothers. And I was always moved around and we was always in different places at different times. It was not easy getting through because I didn't understand how to channel my energy, and I was angry. Mm-hmm. So I would act off of my anger because that's all I knew. Mm. And I could fight, and I had heart, and I was ballsy, and I didn't back out, and I just went in, and it made me dangerous, not only to myself but to others.
How did you end up forgiving your father eventually? Because I know that can't be a tough thing. I mean, forgiving people is one of the toughest things to do, but at the end of the day, I believe that it's the best thing to do. How did you come across finally coming up with that courage to do it?
Because I understand the human species, and our parents were kids once just like us, and their parents, what did their parents teach them, and how did their parents bring them up? So in life, we didn't understand. We didn't have the internet. We didn't have all the information we have now, but how did they get brought up? And their parents done damage to. Now we got damaged parents that meet each other. Your mom comes from an abusive father-in-law that used to rape her, and your father comes from an old grandfather that used to beat them, and now they're adults and they fall in love and they want to have kids. They don't have bad intention. They want to have kids like everybody else. So they go and have kids, but they throw up all their emotional stuff onto their kids because that's all they know. So I understand that and I get it. And, dad saved my mom out of a abusive life. And then dad goes to jail for 30 years and mom's still that broken mom that he saved. So how can you, just because they're our parents don't mean they're not human. Mm. It's mom and dad, and when we're young, we look at mom and dad like, oh, they're supposed to be perfect. I didn't like my mom. She did this. Well, bro, what did her mom and father do to them?
How old were you when he went away?
4.
4? Mm. Do you have memories of him before he went?
Not so much.
Yeah,
not so much. Most of them are from the visiting room.
Yeah.
Mm. But I'm in full acceptance of that. When dad passed away, I heard some scripture and it said, you got to protect your thoughts. because the enemy will capture our thoughts and take us in rabbit holes we've been running in all life. We know how many pebbles are in that rabbit hole. It's our comfort zone. So we keep going in it, and the enemy will capture our thoughts. And I was, it was so profound to me, because how many times that you leave the house in the morning, you're in a good mood, a song comes on the radio that connects you to something that hurts. All of a sudden, you're in full-blown tears, and your emotions and your mood is exactly the things that you were thinking about, right? Now you feel the way you were thinking. Now that energy is going to be with you. That's the enemy, capturing our thoughts and bringing us in rabbit holes. Once I knew that information, it was like a gold bar. So now when Dad passed, or everybody's in tears and mourning, and I kind of was like, I'm not gonna let the enemy do that to me, because I know Dad would have wanted it different. So I went in and celebrated his life in the wake at that night. I said something and I spoke life into him, and Dad was this, and oh, he was funny here, and I was speaking life into a moment that was supposed to be down, but I wouldn't, because once I heard protect my thoughts, that's what I do all the time now. I don't allow myself to get in holes, because I've been in that rabbit hole all my life. I know exactly where it is, that I could close my eyes and run in it. We all have one, right? So by protecting my thoughts, it gave me the edge on the enemy. So now I was like, So now when I have something negative, I just kind of go there instead of letting that thought control. So when I'm moving and I get up and I walk to the bathroom, what spirit is actually moving me? Am I angry? How do I feel at this moment that I'm walking? What spirit am I moving in? And that's kind of the things I do. I'm really deep when it comes to the internal stuff that I work on myself. Is deep.
I think that's powerful, man. I think that's,
it's deep.
Do you see a lot of kids come into the gym that remind you of yourself? Maybe they came from a broken home or a situation like yourself that you can relate to and you want to help?
Yeah, I help all of them, because let's face it, what affects you isn't going to affect him.
Yeah.
What affects me is not going to affect him, but all kids are affected. Bro, the kids can be affected by the littlest things. You would never even know. It's like, toughen up, kid, and the kid's affected. Now he needs a hug, and everybody's damaged because everybody receives information differently. Some of the things that we laugh at would destroy another person. The things that would destroy us, that person might laugh at. So everybody has their own level of emotional history. So I think you have to meet people where they are, not where you are. And I think that's a problem with a lot of coaches too in these youth sports. The coaches want these kids to meet the coaches where they are, and it's not so. These kids all learn differently. So you got to meet the kids where they are and where he is, because they're all in different places. And it all starts with the emotional stuff at home.
What's
do you ever get here's an example, right? You get a 4-year-old boy, a 4-year-old girl, they're twins, brother and sister, right? They're twins. The 4-year-old girl runs and falls and scrapes her knee, and she's crying, and the 4-year-old boy falls and scrapes his knee the same exact way the 4-year-old girl, the same pain. What do we do with the little girl? We pick her up, and we rub her leg, and we give her kisses, and we say, "Oh, you okay? Get up. Big boys don't cry." We tell the 4-year-old boy, right? So now he gets up and he goes, and right away we ignite the volcano of holding in our emotions, and we teach our young boys how to hold in their emotions at that age.
I still think it's important, though, to hold in your emotions at certain times.
I think it's important, but I also think it's important to be able to put love
For sure.
on, because love wins.
Mm-hmm.
Period.
Mm-hmm.
You can still be that, but it's love first. Mm-hmm. You pick them up both the same. You'll be all right. Everything. You don't have to say big boys don't cry. That puts them in a world of their own. Now they have to start diagnosing this stuff by themselves. They're too young for that. Yeah. And it starts the volcano. Now they know how to hold their emotions in. So next time they get mad at mom and dad, guess what? They're in their room slamming the door. Nobody knows they're mad. They're on the phone. They might do a pill. They might do something stupid because they're angry and we don't know it. It's deep.
Yeah. What's next, man? What do you got? What's next for Jarrod Tillinghast?
The train is moving, man. Yeah. We got some good things. The one thing I always would do is I would throw up on everybody with that. I had things going on, and And you know, I learned, you know, the train is moving and we got some big announcements coming, but I'm not gonna speak and I you know, I'm not gonna throw up and say anything that I just know that the way things have been happening for me, I just kind of keep running my race like the choo-choo that, you know, I just keep going. And the 2024, we got some announcements, you and I, and we got a nice team of, I got a world-class fighter on my hands. We're going to be making
I'm
a
excited
deal
for this
soon.
year, man. I'm excited.
Yeah,
and I think we're gonna find that project to link up on, and we're gonna make some noise.
Yeah, Mike,
and I'm looking forward to it.
I've always loved you from the day I met you. You were with CES.
Yep.
And I met you that day, and I was like, "This kid's, you were different. Your talent is a shame that they lost you because you were of value." Mm-hmm. And I'm gonna take you on my promotional team, and we're gonna crush it.
Hell yeah, man! Hell yeah! Listen,
Let's
man,
go.
It's been a great podcast. I love you to death, man. You're a great person. I think what you're doing right now, everybody should take lessons from. And I wish you all the best. You know, you can, you know, anything you need, man, call me. And let's blow this year up.
Yo, this is just the beginning. Stay tuned. We got a lot of noise to make, and we have a lot of people to serve.
Hell yeah, man.
Let's go.
All right. Thank you, Jarrod Tillinghast.
God bless. Thank you, guys.